Welcome to Sisters in Sobriety. Today, we're joined by Marsha V, a best-selling author, coach, and NLP trainer.
She's also the host of the podcast, Own Your Choices, Own Your Life, where she helps people transform their pain into purpose through storytelling, subconscious reprogramming, and embodied healing.
And with 27 years as a kinesiology and fitness expert, Marsha brings a deep mind-body understanding to her work. So we are super excited to get into it. Welcome, Marsha.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Thank you. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey to becoming an author and an NLP coach? Because that's not where you started.
It is not where I started. I did have 27 years in physical rehabilitation, a kinesiologist. And when I do look back, I had 27 years of coaching. I just didn't see it as coaching at the time because I was coaching people learning how to walk again, like learning how to move again and overcoming fear and their thoughts and the mindset. And I remember in a quick nutshell that there were so many times I would watch a client have this fear when I say that we were about to try something, but we hadn't even moved yet. And I'm like, that's so fascinating how your body contracted. And looking back, that is really what happens. Our subconscious mind panics when it anticipates that there is something coming that's in danger. So I can look back, I'll tie that in, but I look back and realize like our bodies we're meant to be on guard to protect ourselves. So we have to train ourselves how to be safe. So that was my experience in training. And then about 12 years ago, I was a parent who dealt with teen substance abuse. And it completely changed the entire trajectory of our family, my story. And I spent a lot of years trying to find solutions, looking for options, and learned some pretty hard lessons along the way. And during that time, I started to share my story in small bits. I shared it in small groups on small stages. And then all of a sudden, I started to recognize that I wasn't the only person who was struggling.
Yeah.
And because of that, I then decided to share it, and it went into collaborative books. And then I had the download to write my own solo book. And I often say, be very careful who you share your ideas with if you're not solid in what you want to do, because there is no one in my life who thought that was a good idea.
Okay.
It made no sense. They were like, you are out of your mind. What are you doing? And I'm like, I don't actually know, but I think I'm supposed to do it. And so I did. And it was the start of everything. That was really the start of everything in 2017.
When you think about yourself, your younger self, what message do you think that you wish she had heard about resilience?
Oh, what a great question. I wish I would have heard that resilience doesn't mean you have to do it by yourself. Resilience is something that I speak a lot about, the armor. We build the armor in ourself. And I did that as a child who was the strong one, who could take care of everything, who, so you put that armor on. It's like, okay, I do it by myself. And the message keeps getting reinforced. So I took resiliency as meaning like I'm strong and resilient. I can handle anything. And that also meant that I didn't know how to ask for help, didn't know how to receive help. It felt weak to do so. I wish I would have understood that resiliency does not mean running the path by yourself.
Someone said something to me last week that was, your story can be someone else's guidebook. Just so what drew you to storytelling as, a big part of your teaching tools?
Well, if I think back, I was the kid who loved the true stories. I still do, to the movies. Like, I love the stories of people who've overcome things that they never thought was possible. So I was always drawn to those stories. And when we were in the thick of this, like when you're surrounded by addiction, you can't explain it to somebody who hasn't experienced it. And I don't wish it on somebody. And it kind of felt like all parts of our life were burning away, and it felt like nothing was working. And a friend of mine said, what if your story could help somebody else out? And it was just enough to be almost like a little bit of a flicker of light that maybe, what if it could be for good? What if I could do something good with this? And that was something that started to drive me. But when you come from, I'm a 70s baby, we don't share. Like, we literally, you were told in the 70s and like onward that you put a smile on and you fake it and you say you're fine. And I really believe that's why we got to the spot that we were in, is because I didn't know how to ask for or receive help. And so all of a sudden it was like, what if this could be good? What if I could do something good with this experience? What would that feel like? And it just started to open up possibilities. And then every time I spoke somewhere, I would be surrounded by people who said, that's my story. That's my story. That's my story. And I started to recognize that we have this massive generation of people who have been walking my story for a lot of years, have never told a soul. And when you do that, you literally let shame take over. And so when shame takes over, right, you can't find your voice when you're sitting in shame all the time. It just doesn't work. Shame loves secrecy and privacy. And so I started to recognize that, like, it was heartbreaking to see women in their 60s and 70s and say, that was our son, that was our daughter, and we never told anybody. And I'm like, this has to change. Like this. So it actually started to fuel me to keep going. And it also healed me in ways that I didn't know I needed.
I know as a therapist and as a human, we know that we can't change our past, but through storytelling, I often find that we can change the meaning that we give. How did that happen for you? How, through storytelling, how did meaning change what was happening in your life? Or how did it give meaning to what was happening in your life?
It gave so much meaning. And I think that there was a quote, I don't know who said it, and it really landed on me. Like, we cannot love who we are and hate everything that made us who we are. And that was a point where I went, okay, if I'm actually trying to, love, honor myself right now, because I know everything we desire comes from the relationship we have with ourselves first. Every single thing, whether we want kindness, can you be kind to yourself? Compassion, can you be compassionate to yourself? So I recognize that. That also meant I had to stop like tearing myself down for the past story, for how it unfolded, because truth be told, I felt like I had failed. I really thought as a mother I had failed. How could I not? Honestly, I understand logically why I felt that way. B, I had lots of people tell me I had failed. So I had received a lot of criticism there. Nothing I was doing was working. So it must be my fault, because that, I also think that as moms, I don't know why we do this, but I feel like we unconsciously write this contract that we are like, we are responsible for every single thing that happens in our house, with our family, with our kids, with our husband. We can hold it all. And you know what? We can't. We're not supposed to. And so that was a piece of it. I had to go back and actually forgive parts of myself and recognize that, did I do every single thing that I could to change the story? I sure as hell did. I literally did. I turned over every rock I could find. That helped me to forgive myself for a lot of things that I held myself responsible for. And in doing that, it changed the story. Like, it really did help heal parts of that story. And it allowed me to share it from a lens that I like to refer to as in the story versus on the story. And this is a big piece of storytelling when I'm working with clients. If you are in the story, and I don't mean the scars versus wounds, because I have another take on that, but if you're in the story, and that means you're living in it, like, you might still be living in it. I was living in it when I wrote my book. But if you're living in it from the energy of angry, like frustrated with the world, annoyed, it's everyone else's fault, blame, victim energy, it is not the time to tell your story. It really is not the time to do it, because you're in it. You have to find your way through it. And on it means you have some perspective. So I could be on my story and look at it and say, I had to learn how to forgive myself. That was a big piece of the work that I did. And that gave me perspective to share the lessons that I learned, hard, good, all of the stuff in between. And that really helped me to learn how to tell my story.
What is the difference between wounds versus scars?
Okay. So I know I love this. I knew I opened that door. So a lot of people say that you can't share your story from the wound. It has to be from the scar. I actually disagree on that. And the reason I disagree is because I do believe there's a lot of adults walking around with scarred over nasty wounds. They might have a scar over it, but there is nothing that has been done for healing, unpacking a story, like, changing the meaning of the story. So they might be saying, well, it happened 30 years ago, but you're still telling the story like it happened yesterday. That's in the story. You have a wound that it deserves to be irrigated and healed. Like it really does. And part of subconscious work is there's ways to heal stories without like living in the story again. The challenge is our brain, our subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between the past, present, or future. So if I am retelling the story like it happened yesterday, all of my subconscious mind is like on guard, going, okay, danger's coming, danger's coming. It's no, that was 30 years ago. That was 30 years ago. We don't need to be talking about in that way. Learning how to shift it and speak about being on it in perspective, and also put our language into where we're going means that, yes, that's part of me. Like my story dealing with addiction is always part of me, but I don't live there now. Like that's a very different. So if my language speaks about the fact that I'm in it day in, day out, it's a nasty wound that I am keeping it as a wound. I'm not allowing it to heal as a scar. So when people say you can't share your story if it is a wound, I like to go a little bit deeper and understand what that is, because I was in it while I wrote my book. It is possible, depending on where your perspective is.
Yeah, I'm writing right now my memoir, and my editor's always like, make sure you take care of yourself, make sure you take care of yourself and take lots of breaks because it is, yeah, I don't think the wound has closed yet either for me.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I hadn't thought about it.
You writing your solo book there's a couple things that, I mean, it really is a process. And it does dig up things because you're trying to recall parts of the story to share
Yeah.
it. So it is a little bit of digging and excavating. It's always just a reminder that, we're driving through the valley. As I always think, Lisa Nichols, this always landed for me, is that you're driving like through the valley. Now, if I'm driving through the valley and I'm in the wound and I'm like in the story, that means I'm going to have to visit a little bit. It's going to be a little bit messy. It doesn't feel very good, but I can choose to drive through the valley. I don't live there. If I pull over, buy property, unpack, and live there,
Mhm.
it's a very different energy. And that's a
Yeah.
very different lens to tell a story from. That's if you tell a story from that lens, you will attract very different readers. Just take a look at anything online. If a person tells a vulnerable story from a lens of anger, like resentment, rage, it pulls in all of that energy too. But if you tell it from the lens of like, this is what has happened, this is how it shaped me, I don't blame anyone, I'm like doing what I can to manage it, you attract very different comments again.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I hadn't thought about it about the driving through it, but yeah, I do. I look at it from a funny lens, even though it's not the funniest thing that ever
That's okay.
happened.
Actually, I do it too. My husband and I do that at times because I think if we said our story out loud half the time, people wouldn't believe us. It's wild, but adding humor, and may sound really wild, but your subconscious mind is a meaning making machine. It is literally trying to find meaning everywhere you go. It's trying to keep you safe in what's predictable and familiar. And so, again, if you're always telling the story of what didn't go right, then it's always on guard and looking for all of those signs. But sometimes what you can do is adding a tiny bit of humor, a lens of funny. Maybe not everybody's going to get it, but a lens of funny. You're breaking up the grip that it has on an old story. It actually confuses your subconscious mind and allows you to release the
Mhm.
hold that it has. So it's actually not a bad thing to do.
Good to know.
I use something with my clients sometimes where I have them sing a negative thought in a really funny way.
Honestly, that is a way that you can support people. So I have a friend who is a master NLP trainer as well, and she's also an RRT, so rapid resolution therapy. And she will add like such a comical humor that you'll sing a song like about
Yeah.
cupcakes that has nothing to do with, and all of a sudden your brain is laughing and you've
Yeah.
released the hold of the story. So it's actually a very healthy way to do it.
I
I know
like
Sonia's like, what?
You're supposed to be giving me free therapy. Where did that? You never gave me that nugget before.
Start singing a song that seems so silly and watch it shift.
So as we move to talk about something I'm super interested in is how emotions live in our body. So how did that start for you, and how did your background in kinesiology shape that understanding of how emotions live in the body?
Well, and it's so interesting because I mean, I could go off for hours on this topic, so I'm going to be as concise as I possibly can. I learned it by walking through it myself first, which is apparently how I learned all of the lessons that I get to share. I had a long history of very severe endometriosis. I had
Mm.
multiple surgeries. I had a hysterectomy at 38, multiple complications after that. So it is, I am no stranger to surgeries and dealing with medical issues. And in 2020, I had an emergency back surgery. So pandemic, couldn't get tests done, emergency surgery. Like it was very heightened. Everything was heightened. And I remember being in the hospital bed, learning how to walk again, almost sitting here going, okay, job's gone, figuring life out. I'm 50 years old. I have to walk again. Like, what is literally happening right now? And NLP crossed my path. And when I saw it from this lens, I realized I had been incorporating some of this work already, but didn't really understand it. And that we have and hold on to emotions in our body. Now, the thing is that emotions actually only last for 90 seconds. This is going to
Mhm.
blow people's mind. They only last for 90 seconds. The only reason they last longer is because we attach a story to those emotions. That's it. We keep them alive because we keep telling the story that is an attachment to the emotion, because that emotion is serving us in some way, shape, or form. Whether it is like liking to feel like a victim, liking to
Mhm.
feel this energy that, this is the world is happening to me. But I catch myself sometimes, so if you're telling the story, I mean, I'm sharing a story of what happened 12 years ago. But if I'm sharing it from the lens of like it happened yesterday and I'm so heightened in my emotions, I have kept that alive in my body because I've attached a story to it. And it's really powerful. So emotions, they're just a neurological response that happens. We're allowed to feel them. There's nothing wrong with them. And they pass through our body in about 90 seconds. So the more neutral we can be to an emotion and recognize like, that's interesting. Wow. There are times that I'm like, wow, Marsha, your reaction was a little over the top for what was happening. And I add a little sense of humor, not ever self-deprecating. And when I recognize that, one of the first questions I ask is like, where are my boundaries off? Do I need more self-care? Like if my reaction is not on par with what's actually happened, then something is off within me because I'm that's my overreaction. And then I stop and it's like, if that's not the case, then I will even go this way with my languaging. And like, for example, if it was my husband, I'm like, what I heard you say is this. And he's like, I didn't say that. I'm like, okay, but that's what I heard. And that's what I felt. And he's like, okay, that's not even close to what I meant. And all of a sudden you can start to unpack it, because the sooner you can recognize, like, what is that emotion that I'm feeling and what does it want me to pay attention to? You can recognize that they're really signposts in your body that are trying to direct you to something. But we're not meant to live in that fight, flight, like freeze, fawn, live there, because you can't thrive there. You feel them, they pass through, and then what are they teaching me?
hmm I've used that a lot actually in my practice because I see mostly couples. And one of the things that we talk about is I have people say, the story I'm making up about that is, or
I
what,
love that.
yeah, like the story I'm telling myself about that is, because it's very different. The story is very different than the emotion.
Hmm.
Kathleen says that to me all the time.
I
Hmm.
love that, Marsha. Like, I think that this is a life changing piece of information that you're sharing about emotions. They last 90 seconds,
90.
90 seconds. And
Mhm.
it's what you're attaching to that 90 seconds that often causes a lot of our pain. Yeah.
A lot of our pain. I mean,
Yeah.
we all have trigger emotions, right? Like, I mean, there's when our body stores emotions in typically in this order. It's anger, sadness, fear, shame, guilt, hurt, and then you have like all the limiting decisions that go with that: doubt, comparison, like lack of belief. But it's funny how anger is first, and I often look at anger as like the shield, because the
Mm,
shield is protecting us, right? So some people have that like angry edge. I was really good at that. I had that. And so when you start to see it, but we all have our key emotions. For me, it's shame. When I feel shame,
mm,
I'm like, oh, I see you. I see. And that I call that my slippery slope. I don't judge myself for that, but it is my slippery slope. And I think it's important to know what is an emotion that you can easily fall back into, because if you can call it out, you can see it, and you're going to see it often in your life. So for me, shame is one of them. When that comes up, almost always, I'm like, oh, you sneaky little bugger. I see you. I know what you're doing. I add a little bit of sense of humor, and I'm like, you want me to be quiet. And thank you for reminding me of the role you've had in my life, because I'm about to get louder. It's safe for me to
mm,
get louder. And I actually will go and share a story, an Instagram story, something to the effect that this is what I'm feeling. I know I'm not alone in this. I know I don't live here. And this is what I'm choosing to do instead. So it's just each of us have our own kind of our set point emotion that we go back to often. When you see that in yourself, you're going to recognize your patterns, because if you can catch your patterns, you can change them, right? Your past does not have to define your future, but your past is teaching you a lot about how you respond, how you show up, how you speak, how you lead. So let it teach you so that you can see it, so you can do something differently.
mhm, mhm. Can you say more, Marsha, about how do unresolved or I actually don't want to, like, I don't love calling them unresolved. Actually, I feel like
No.
it's more unprocessed, like being
Mhm.
able to feel through them, emotions like shame, guilt, anger. How do they show up then as physical manifestations, like whether illness or tension or pain or disease? Like, how does that happen?
Well, and I can say I'm not a actual medical doctor when it comes to this by any means, but I've seen it
Yeah.
firsthand. And I do believe, like, I am 55. There's a generation ahead of me of women who, I'm going to say that didn't value themselves, didn't process things, didn't use their words to speak, were shut down nonstop. And I see it firsthand. I've seen it in my own family, I've seen it in extended family. Women who are dying from, and maybe a very slow dying death,
Yeah.
of, diseases, of cancers, of mental health, because it's like they've never been valued or valued themselves to speak. And it's so interesting to witness. So I believe that all of that manifests in our body. In full transparency, because I like to be vulnerable and real, I shared it in my book. It's not a secret. I mean, I was a victim of an assault at 12 years old.
Mm,
There is a massive correlation between women who suffer from endometriosis and assault from a young age.
yeah.
When this happened, I was basically told, we will never discuss this again. And it was like, okay, so you see how shame is my emotion. That's the slippery slope, because it was planted from a very young age that that's not okay to talk about. And how could you do this? And I'm like, okay, I don't know how I did it, but you can see how it happens. So it traps in our body. And again, I think we can start to open up conversation within ourselves and start to have the conversation of like, what do I need? What is my body asking for? What am I feeling right now? Instead of making it mean something about us again, right? Like when we come back to making it mean something, we keep it alive. It's meant to come in, it's meant to teach us something, and it's meant to go. From somebody I didn't know how to process emotions or even experience or understand them for all of my life, because the armor was there.
Yeah.
And so the thing is that you can't selectively block emotions. You might be thinking you're blocking shame, But if you block shame, you're going to block joy. You always block the opposite. You can't choose which one you get to block. And so it was a counselor who said to me, where are you experiencing joy in your life? I'm like, joy? You heard my story, right? Like, what do you mean joy? Like, I'm living at a gong show. And she's like, you have to find joy. I'm like, you're out of your mind. Like, what are you talking about? But it took doing a lot of reading and a lot of work and a lot of understanding that when you are blocking those emotions, you're blocking everything. And so that's what I would say to that. I do believe that unprocessed, I think you said unprocessed emotion,
I
unprocessed.
did. I said
Yeah, I like that.
unprocessed instead of unresolved. I don't
like
try not to
unresolved. I
use
don't
unresolved.
like, sorry, my face made it too. I don't love unresolved either because I don't know if it's ever fully
Right.
resolved.
Exactly.
I don't think that's a fair statement to make to
Exactly.
ourselves because we're always going to have triggers, right? We're always going to have, I really believe we're always going to have triggers. We're always going to have limiting beliefs. They're all going to show up. There are people who have the train of thought that if you do this work, you never have a limiting belief again. And I just think that's BS, to be honest, because I think that it's part of us. Again, we're back to it's part of us. And those parts actually were there to protect us for a long time. So they served a role. I just don't need the 7-year-old version of me to run my life at 55. I know that she did a great job then, but if I don't work on processing that, she's always running the show.
That makes sense. So I've heard you say things about feeding and feeling emotions. What is the difference between feeding and feeling an emotion?
That one came down, I think, in a reel one day, and it was like, oh, I feel like that has to be shared. So again, I didn't know how to feel. And that sounds so weird, but I didn't understand how to feel. And feeling just means that, like, what does that emotion want me to do? What am I feeling? How am I responding? Like, I always come back to being at cause in our life. That's the premise of NLP, is like living in radical responsibility and taking responsibility for ourselves. So everything is always teaching us something. It's always speaking to us and telling us. And so sometimes feeling it means like, man, my tank is so low today. I really need some time to recover. Now, for a lot of years, I was not good at that. I'm going to say, I was going to say terrible, but not good at that. And my husband's amazing. And he would be like, okay, you need some time. Like, and I almost needed that reminder. Now I'm getting a lot better. It's like, I actually need a nap today. I need to rest. I need to give myself, it's what my body needs. That's feeling emotion. That's allowing it to happen and not making it mean anything. Feeding it is when I add the story to it and I continuously like, oh my God, I can't believe I needed a nap today. How am I so unproductive? Like, what is wrong with me? I used to be able to do it so much better than this. Like, that's feeding it and making it mean something. Feeling it is like, my body is just saying, not today, not today. And that's okay. I trust it and I honor it and I listen to it. I do think they're two very different things.
A question about, because this is Sisters in Sobriety, for those people who've used alcohol or let's say any substance to numb feelings, what happens in the body once they stop using that substance and emotions return? Like, what do you think happens?
I think that when they stop using something and those emotions return, those emotions are scary. They're scary to feel. And so sometimes it's easier to just choose to use something to not fully feel it. I mean, I did that for a long time in the beginning when we were dealing with it because I just didn't understand how to. And I think that I'm doing a lot of work and writing right now on the difference between numb and unbothered. And it's very, very different. Numb is like not being, I spent a lot of years numb to pain, numb to joy, numb to all of it. And numb is kind of keeping it at bay and not actually feeling it and processing or even getting curious. Sometimes you just have to get curious about why am I doing this? I often say, like, and I've said this actually my whole life, which is so interesting because I've been surrounded by a lot of addiction, that if I ever said to myself, I feel like I need a drink. You hear people say that? It's just been a long day. Need a drink. If I ever said that, I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm having a drink. There's no way. Like, that's just a major red flag for me. And so that was always a sign that was there. But I think that when you take away the things that numb you, you don't really know how to process the emotions. B, you're not building a lot of trust within yourself that you can process them.
Mhm.
Right, you can. It might just be a new experience and you don't know how to do it, but you have to build. I always say you have to stack your wins. You've got to build some wins to understand that you can actually process it. And I actually think we also have a society, this is a big general statement, that doesn't know what it's like to feel good.
Mhm.
I don't think they know. I don't think we know what it's like to feel good, to take care of ourselves, to understand like good relationships, processing emotions, exercising, rest, sleep. Like sleep is not for weakness. I don't think we know.
No, I
And I
agree.
don't think we're curious enough about what it's like to feel good.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
totally agree with that. I think we have a very weird base point in our society. Like we just don't, or like we just don't know.
I,
Many of
I
us.
don't 100%, 100%. And even when we were doing this, our kids were younger, I had so many people say, it's just a phase. Like they have these phases and it's just a phase. And I'm like, I'm not going to go into the whole spiral of this, but I can tell you drugs are different than
Yeah.
when like 50 years ago. It's just different. And if you are watching something around you, you don't have to accept that something is a phase and make that okay. Like you get to decide what that means. So I know there's a massive difference that I probably spent most of my life numb because that's what strong people do.
Mm,
That was
Mhm.
the message I had for
yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Marsha, so speaking of being strong, I would always think, and I still get cravings and urges to drink, but that I was weak. But how can those cravings be signals from our body, and what can they represent, or
Mm.
what can they be trying to show us? Is it just situational, environmental, or could it be something more?
It could be both. I was definitely going to say situational or environmental. I think, you know what? When we say statements, that's our conscious mind. That's our 5% of our mind that is like, I just need a drink or everyone else is doing it. That's a statement. And when I say statement, you can even say my hands are like, it's almost like a barrier. It makes like just this is the way it is. When we ask a question, we get curious. And when we're curious, we open up other possibilities. So if you find yourself in a space saying like, I would just like a drink. But then I would ask myself next, like, why do I want? What is it that what am I hoping to feel? What am I looking for? Is there another way that I can feel that? And so you like if you can take it and open up to a question, it's like opening an umbrella the other way. And now all of a sudden there's possibilities and you get to see it. I mean, I decided it's almost 19 months now that I was going to go 30 days without having a drink. And I mean, I might go once or twice a month with having a drink. It wasn't a lot. But I also knew that, like I said, we've been surrounded by addiction. And I had a moment where I did the 30 days. And in the 30 days, I got curious. There was a few times I'm like, oh, I felt like I need one. I'm like, that's interesting. Like if you can respond to something with a neutral statement, again, no judgment. That's interesting. Huh. Is that the kind of situation that brings this up? And then all of a sudden I was like, maybe I'll do another 30 and another 30. And I caught myself that I just don't want to. And even my husband, who doesn't drink hardly at all, he's like, so is this a thing now? I'm like, I don't know. I just, for right now, I'm not interested. So I ask questions. Do I want that? And I'm like, I don't think so. I connect a lot to my higher self. And for me,
Yeah.
I'm like, does my higher self want this right now? The answer, honestly, is always hell no. Like it's so
Mhm.
clear. It's like, no, don't want it. And I'm like, okay, I don't want it. I guess I don't want it. And I know that my body didn't want it. One drink felt like a bottle to me. Like my body just was like, please stop doing this. And the more research you see, there's a lot of women who are really in that space at feeling the same thing. So I think that if you're in those situations, that you might have to get curious, ask questions, and maybe there's certain situations that you don't want to go in. There's some situations that I don't love being around and I don't go to very often because it's like all taking shots. It's all pressure. Why do you not do that? I'm like, I'm not 15. I don't want to do this. And so it's very interesting. So I think that there are definitely some situational things that you can ask yourself, like, do I actually want to be there, or am I afraid of missing out? Like, do I actually want to go? Because maybe I don't want to go. And that's okay. You're allowed to evolve.
Yes.
You're allowed to evolve and change. There's nothing wrong with that. And that actually does not mean that other people are not as good as you. It means that you honor your own boundaries and what you want and need to be around.
Yeah. Yeah. I think those are great words to share. It's like honoring, like, what do you need? What do you want? Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, I want to switch gears a little bit to NLP. So,
Mm-hmm.
in your own words, what is NLP and how does it help us to rewire old thought and behavior patterns?
Mm. Again, I could do a whole
I
series on this.
know.
I
I
love it. I
know.
know. I love it. So NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. Okay. So neuro is the information we're taking in all around us, the language that we're using, and the programming is creating the world that we have around us. So that's what NLP is. And in a simple sense, we have our conscious mind, which is 5% of who we are. We don't develop our conscious mind until like 13 and up. So that's the driver. That's the, like, let me make the vision board and set the plan and put the workouts in. And like, that's the conscious doer. And a lot of women are conscious doers. I was a doer for a long time. In our subconscious is built from all of our thoughts, beliefs, our decisions, experiences, environment that was formed probably up until the age of 8 years old. That is responsible for 95%. So what that means is that you can set the goals, you can reach for the goals, but if your subconscious mind is not on board and does not believe that that is possible, it will not happen. You cannot outwork something that you do not believe is possible. So think of how many women you know who are out there pushing like crazy to make something happen. And actually, over here, they're like, I don't know if that can happen. I don't know if I could do it. I mean, it's been such an interesting month because I've been working with a lot of women, and there is something that is on repeat for women. It is a fear of success. It is 100% a fear of
Yes.
success. It is not fear of failure. Just stop telling yourself that because it's not true. It's fear of success. It's, can I hold it all if it happens? What will change in my life if it does?
Mm.
What will people think of me if this does happen? Can I manage it? And I see it everywhere. So like if I look back in 2020 when I went full time into my business when COVID happened, I saw a few women then who were having like, fairly successful businesses and building and creating massive change. Now I couldn't count the number of women that I know firsthand who are literally changing their entire family's life. They are building their business. They are, whether it's online, in person, speaking, writing, podcasting, they're doing it all. And for a lot of them, they still haven't changed any of their other responsibilities and demands that they were doing. So that is a bit of a glitch there, right? We're still pushing like crazy. They're having success, but we need a little bit more support. We have to be like willing to ask for it and value it. So the two go together. So I see a lot of women who have had tremendous success. They don't feel worthy of it. They don't feel they deserve it. They still hide, they play small, and they're not living up to their full potential for fear of what does that look like. So
Mhm.
the two go together. We all have limiting beliefs. We all have stuck emotions, stuck stories, thoughts in our body. And sometimes it's just as simple to look at like, what is the story that's on repeat and what would it feel like to not have that guiding my life? And then we start to go from there to learn how to release those stuck emotions in the body, put the tools and techniques into place so that you can actually create your business from an aligned space, like from an aligned, incredibly powerful space where your subconscious mind is actually on board with what you're trying to create.
So, Marsha, what role, for someone who doesn't understand NLP that well, what role does language play in either reinforcing or breaking down limiting beliefs?
I love this question. So here's the thing, reinforcing language or limiting beliefs. First off, we have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. 80 to 90% we repeat every single day. We have for our whole life. 90% of those are negative. That means that 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. 90% of those are repeat thoughts that are negative every single day. And guess what? That's before the world gets us. That's before social media gets us. That's before anyone in our life who's not supporting us gets us. Our words are literally creating the world around us. And I'm not talking about like sit and manifest. It just drives me crazy when I see that, because you do need action. But we're actually all really good at manifesting, because we're either speaking about what we don't want or we're speaking about what we want, right? And if we're speaking about what we don't want 90% of the day, then we see a whole lot of that. That's what our subconscious mind is responding to us. So if I say like, oh my God, I'm so afraid of doing this. Oh, so I have somebody reach out and wants me to be on their podcast. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know who that is. That's amazing. Oh, I don't know. Is that okay? Can I do that? Is there value to that? And then all of a sudden my mind will go like, I don't know. Remember that last time? And all of a sudden you might feel a feeling of fear. The second you feel an emotion, what your subconscious mind does is this. You ever felt that contraction to something?
Yeah.
The contraction happens. That's your nervous system. And then your subconscious mind is like, oh, wait, alert, danger. What happened? Where's the bear? Where's the lion? What happened? And it literally doesn't, there's no bear or lion. And I sometimes will say, Marsha, there's no lion there. It's like, just relax. But it doesn't know the difference between an actual lion and the thought of the fear of a lion. And so if I feed the fear, right, and I feed that emotion, I feed the fear, my subconscious mind responds with, oh, you wanted proof of all the times that you thought the line was coming and it bombed and it didn't work well. Just a second. Up comes immediately. It's like a computer screen. Up comes all of the times that I felt like I failed, that things didn't go right. I'm like, see, that's not a good idea. I shouldn't do that. It's responding to us. So not sometimes, if this happens, you can be in a space of, can you see it from a neutral lens? Like, wow, that's interesting. That was fast. As I say it all the time, that all of the pieces of us are with us every single day, right? So the little child, the one who's trying to stop me, the limiting beliefs, they are all part of me every single day. You guys all get to get in the clown car. I'm not going to resist you. I'm not going to fight you. I know you're part of this story. You get to get in the clown car, but I'm driving. Like, I'm driving. The 55-year-old version of me is driving, not the 7-year-old who has no business driving the car. The 55-year-old, you're all part of me. So we learn to love those past parts of ourselves. They all served a role. There's nothing wrong. We're not broken. We are not broken as humans. They all served a role. The reason we feel broken is because we fight off parts of ourselves. We shame ourselves for having it. And so learning how to heal that and see those parts of ourselves, now we can actually go after what it is that we want. And so the thoughts, to come back to your question, are you speaking about what you don't want, or are you speaking about what you want? Your subconscious mind doesn't understand negatives, right? Don't think of a purple elephant. What did you think of? A purple elephant. So speak in terms of what you want. I will start with clients and they're going to tell me everything that's going wrong, what they want to fix, and what they don't want. I'm like, okay, all right, that's a pretty extensive list. What is it that you do want? And they're like, I don't know. I don't know. And I'm like, oh, you don't know. So I know you don't know, but if you did know, what would you want? And all of a sudden if you ask questions, questioning opens up, it kind of loosens the barrier, the boundary of the problem that we believe in. And now you have room to see it a different way, to have a different belief. So if I'm holding on to a belief that I actually can't have success, okay, so it's like this tight coil, my subconscious mind is holding on to it. That means this is safe, predictable, and familiar. I will choose this every single time unless I can consciously interrupt this pattern and see it, then release the root of that emotion and reprogram my subconscious mind that it is safe to go after what I want. The reason I wanted to share that piece about the coil is because until you release that coil, there's no room to actually add something new. You can affirmation yourself to death. It won't matter. Because if you don't believe that it's possible, if there's no room to believe something different, you have to start at the root of the belief first. It has nothing to do with effort. It has nothing to do with the wrong affirmation or journal. It has to do with what's the core belief that you're holding on to that you think is keeping you safe.
So what's a practical way, for example, with that example, how do you release that coil?
Amazing. So first off, I kind of have this 5-step, I think it's 5, that I'll give you to go through. So can you give me an example, either
Oh,
one of you, of a
yeah, I
belief
got
that, look at you said, yes,
I
go.
know, I'm like, I have one too. I have one too. Okay, do yours because we're always doing my therapy.
Okay. I have a limiting belief around money
Okay.
and so around success as well. So I grew up like, and I won't give the whole backstory, but like with very, very wealthy friends. Everyone around me was wealthy, but the belief is like, that's for them, not for me.
You've been telling
Okay.
yourself this story for long that you've been like adjacent to wealth and like
I It is right. You've heard it. Like
So
I'm
you have
always
proof. You
adjacent.
have proof
Yes, I
that's
have
no.
not
proof.
true.
I have
Yeah.
proof.
Yeah.
I know I have proof it's true.
hmm
I'm adjacent to wealth always.
I mean, okay, but I just think it is
It's
a
actually
limit.
not for you to question, Sonia. We're gonna let Marsha do her work here, not for you to question it.
I'm dying. This is awesome. This is awesome. Okay. So here's the thing. If you speak a limiting belief out loud, honestly, if you say it honestly, most people in your life are going to go, that's crazy. That's not true. It doesn't matter what they say. It matters what your lens says. And if you believe it's true, it's true. Like, and I say this with so much love. This is for you and for anyone. Whatever limitation you fight for, you get to keep. So if
Mhm.
you fight for, and it's like, this is how it works for me, I'm like, you're right. And a client is like, hypnosis doesn't work for me. I'm like, you are right. And she's like,
Okay.
no, you have to show me how. And I'm like, are you open to having it work for you? She said, no. I said, then you're right. Like you're right. You get to keep that one. So whatever you fight for, you get to keep. Okay. So first off, this is like on repeat, right? Because we have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. You get to do this process lots of times. So the first is like, I ask myself the awareness. Can you be aware, Kathleen, of how many times a day that comes up? I think,
Mhm.
would it be beneficial if you even took a piece of paper and a stick, you like write like a pencil stick every time it comes up? And you might only have to do it for 30 minutes. You might not have to do it the whole day. It's
Right.
enough for your conscious mind to see, like, oh my gosh, no wonder I'm feeling this way. I've thought it 25 times in the first 10 minutes. And it's just enough to interrupt it. So we interrupt it with no shame, no guilt, no judgment, just awareness. It's just awareness. It's like if you have a wheel going with the spokes, it's like you throw a stick in it and you interrupt the pattern. Okay. So the first is awareness. The second is it true? Like, is it true? Is it really true? And you might be feeling, well, of course it's true. And it's like, but is it really true? And I want you to ask yourself, where is there evidence in your life that that's actually not true?
Mhm.
Where, and you, now your brain is like, oh, okay, it's responding to you. Well, I say brain is your subconscious mind, which is your body. Okay. Your body, that's why we feel that contraction everywhere. You're telling your body, where is there evidence that that is not true? Go find it for me. And you might have to scour, you might have to look. You might have to look at past evidence. You might have to look at past pictures. You might have to ask friends. Because I'm sure there's probably proof somewhere that it's not true for
Mhm.
you. Okay, forget everyone else. I'm just talking about for you. And then so you look for where it's not true. You stack as many wins as you can. You write a list of how many ways did that actually is that belief not true? Then how can you rewrite it in a new empowering way? How can you speak it in the language of what you want versus what you don't want? Because every time you say that wealth is not meant for me, you are right. Like, you are
I
right.
just got one for the first time, Marsha. Marsha, I just got like a whole reframe.
You did.
Yes.
Amazing. Amazing. And that
Yes.
process you do on repeat. So then we follow with subconscious reprogramming tools, hypnosis, EFT, and tapping, because you're 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. You need repetition.
Right.
People are like, do I have to do this every day? I'm like, do you think every day? Because if you do, then yes. And so that's the process. It takes repetition. So I'd love to hear what your reframe was.
Oh my gosh, my reframe has been so powerful in this moment. Like, just even through thinking about the steps is like, oh my goodness, the universe has done an amazing, or whatever, my higher power, whatever we want to call it. It's been right in front of me all these years, and I hadn't seen it until right now. I'm getting all emotional. Oh my gosh. It's like the universe gave me all these successful people to help me get.
They're showing you.
Yeah.
So here's a beautiful thing. Thank you for sharing that. it's very easy to think they have it and I don't. Why are they always here? I have a friend who has built an incredible business and I love her to pieces. And sometimes she triggers the hell out of me because the level of success she has. And I actually have had to have many moments where I'm like, thank you. She's showing me what's possible.
Yeah.
Thank you for showing me what is
Yeah.
possible. And you know what? I've had very candid conversations with her and she's like, are you kidding me? Do you know what you have shown me? And
Mhm.
I don't see it. We don't see it in ourselves. So do you see the difference of like, she triggers me and I'm not going to let her come near me and I'm going to keep her away instead of saying, I love you. And what you're doing is it's triggering me, but I know you're showing me what's possible.
Yeah.
And in the process, she's like, oh my God, you're showing me what's possible. So it just, again, the meaning we're attaching to the emotion changes.
Yeah.
So the story changes as a result.
Yeah, that's hugely powerful. It's like showing me, but it's also showing me what I don't want to. Like, I'm not going to focus on that, but it's like it also showing me, because some of the people in my life who have been massively successful is not at all brought any happiness and joy in their lives at
Girl, that's
all.
so
And
rude.
I'm not talking.
Are you talking about that? Are you talking about because Jeremy left?
No, not at all. It's not all
Oh.
about you. Again, Sonia, it's not all about you. It isn't.
So here's the premise of NLP. We all have our own internal representation of the world. We will always see it from our own lens. Always.
Oh my
Always.
gosh. Sonia's
Yeah,
got that one
always.
down pat.
We all do. I promise we do.
I
We
do
But
think I'm a
no,
cautionary
it's
tale of
not.
success, right? Like, so that's my story is I think that people look at me and they're like, she's successful, but she lost her husband. Do you know what I mean? That's my story.
That's not even the thought that went through my head. I was actually thinking of multiple other people that are in my life that I'm like, oh, they work all the time. They don't see their family. There's like, and I'm like, oh, it's like giving me a blueprint of what I want and what I don't want.
And that's where we thank them for that. I mean, I can share quickly with you. It was 3 years ago when I did my own breakthrough day. So at Master Practitioner, we learn how to facilitate a breakthrough day and we get one. It's like 8 hours, almost built entirely to the subconscious mind. I couldn't figure out, I was having success, not loving my business and didn't understand why. And up came like a belief. I heard myself say it. I'm like, oh my God, where'd that come from? All of a sudden I had this belief that if my business grows, my health and my relationships will suffer. Well, my values, my top values in my life, health and relationships. So why would I want my business to grow if I'm going to lose my health and relationships? Like subconsciously.
Yes.
And I thought, no one told me that. But I do have a lot of people in my life who have had tremendous success with wealth and have crappiest relationships and horrible
Yes.
health.
Y'all
Yeah.
are so rude, okay? I don't know why he left, okay? I don't think it was because of me.
Okay. Do you feel left out, Sonia, because we didn't do your limiting belief? Do you want to do your limiting belief?
We do Sonia's every single podcast.
No, we do it
is
every
like our
day.
own personal therapy. We're good.
We do it every day, all day.
I confirm. I can confirm
Okay.
this.
All right. Just checking.
Sorry.
But do you see how but you see how my limiting belief didn't make sense. No one told me that. They didn't
Yeah.
say, Marsha, as your business grows, you're going to lose your health. But that's all I saw around me. And so when I started to recognize that that was on repeat, I'm like, no wonder I don't want my business to grow because that's scary. I don't want to lose that. I mean, we're going to be celebrating 32 years and it's been freaking hard and I don't want
Yeah.
to lose that. And so through that, I went, all right, I recognize that I see it. My new belief, and people love this, and you can steal it if it speaks to you. My new belief that I did 3 years ago was as my business grows, my health and my relationships thrive. I get to have it all. I make every decision based on, will this affect my health or my relationships? Because they're my top values. And if it is, that means there are things I say no to because I'm like, I don't think so. That's actually not in alignment with who I am. And it means nothing about the other person. It's again what's best for me. And since then, I'm not ever that person who's going to be saying that my business grew exponentially, but it probably 5-6x'd in the last 3 years. And my health and my relationships I have sprint seasons. Let's be real. We have sprint seasons in our business where we're working like
Yeah.
crazy, but then I
Yeah.
build in recovery. But I would not say that my health or my relationships have suffered. They might have had a back burner at times, but they've always been brought back to the forefront. So you
That's
can
amazing.
rewrite a limiting belief, honestly, and it can change everything.
Yeah. Okay, back to me. So I'm kidding.
This is normal for my life, actually.
This is the best, honestly. You guys are great.
I have a question about visualization. Actually, it is really interesting that everybody knows I've been trying to date, but it sucks. But Kathleen, did I tell you that I talked to a guy that had aphantasia?
Yes.
Okay, so like he does not have an imagination. He's unable to
Oh.
see pictures in his mind. So what role does visualization play in embodying a new belief system? Or what is the difference? I know you briefly mentioned this between like manifestation and NLP. And where's
So,
visualization?
yeah, no, it's a great question. So we all have ways that we take in information, right? We're taking in information. We take in like, I think it's 11 million bytes of information every second. It's a little bit wild from our eyes, ears, nose, mouth. What did I miss? Sense. So 5 senses.
Right.
So we're taking in through all of that, but that's consciously. And then that comes in subconsciously, our body takes it in. Consciously, we can only filter in like 0.0004%. So it's like we're literally only receiving a fraction of the information that we're getting, which is a beautiful thing. Because sometimes I'm like, I don't know the answer. I'm like, oh, well, I'm only receiving like 0.004% of the information. There's got to be something else I'm missing. So it's actually kind of an interesting reframe. But this is important. So if we're taking in all of that information that way, that if we say visualization is the only way to be on board with what you want, you might not be a visual person. And you
Right.
might go like, okay, so I can't manifest because I can't visualize. No, this is what's really important. We do it from the lens of NLP. If you had what you wanted, if you had the partner that you wanted, what would you see, feel, and hear? Like, what would you hear? What would you feel? And what would you see? Because some people are so kinesthetic that I'll say, what do you see? And they're like, I don't see anything. I don't see anything. And but kinesthetically or auditory, they can anchor right in on what they would feel or see or hear. And so it requires all of it. So our subconscious mind does not know time. It doesn't know past, present, or future. When you learn how to do timeline work, which I did not believe until I did it, but when you learn how to do timeline work, you recognize that it doesn't know the difference between past, present, and future. So if you could give yourself 5 minutes in the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, as soon as you wake up and right before you go to sleep, because that is when your analytical mind is almost like it's like the gates open a little bit and you're starting to go into the lower brain states so that your subconscious mind is like open in the sponge going, okay, what are we doing now? So imagine if you start your day and end your day like majority of people of like, I have so much to do today. Oh my God, I'm never going to get it done. I didn't get anything done today. They bookend their day on both ends with all the things that are wrong. And so your subconscious mind responds in that sense. It is the most open time. So instead, I even catch myself probably every day. What day is it? Oh my God, I have so much to do. I'm like, oh, who do I get to be today? Oh, interesting. Who do I get to be today? What is the version of me who has what I say that I want? How does she be? What does she do? And it was like, oh, she just gets up. She gets up. She gets her water. She starts her day. She works out. She walks. She does it. That's who I am. And so you start to embody that. But if you can give yourself 5 minutes at the end of the day, the beginning of the day, what happens is, can you like visualize? Can you see, feel, and hear the results that you want to create? And if you're like, I don't even know what results I want to create yet, what do you want to see, feel, and hear? How do you want to show up? How do you want to lead yourself? How do you want to care for yourself? How do you want to speak to others? And start to tap into that. So visualization is a tiny piece of it. And I think they say I literally think it's like 10 to 20% of the population is visual. So to say that visualizing is the only way you can manifest is actually not correct. And you have to get into the energy of if it's done. Because remember, our subconscious mind only wants to keep you safe, predictable, and familiar. That's all it wants.
Yeah.
So if you're like, oh my God, I'm so excited, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to write the book, I'm going to start the thing, and I'm going to do all these things, your subconscious mind's like, no, we're not. That's like, I don't know what that is. I know what this discomfort feels like over here, and it's safe and predictable and familiar, so we're going to stay right here. You have to train yourself by, what do I see, feel, and hear, as if it's already done. And then your subconscious mind's like, you move your internal safety meter reading up, that it is safe to go after what I want. And when it is safe to go after what you want, you don't go into contraction, you don't go into freeze state. You trust and believe and allow things to unfold the way that they're meant to.
I love that explanation, because it is like, not everyone does visualize. And I do think manifestation, well, when you hear about it, and I've like done some courses on it, it's really
Same.
based on visualization.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with it. I know there's a lot of people who teach on it and speak on it, and it's incredible. It's just, you also want to recognize that it is one way that you can see it. You can do it other ways. Like I said, see, feel, and hear. You can
Yes.
create a hypnosis that's all about the life is done. Like, it's already done. What am I doing? How do I react? What does it look like? And you just train your body. It's normal to, this is who I am, because that's how I show up. Like, there is, I bet you, hundreds of times a day, I'm like, okay, what do I do next? Okay, the version of me who has what I say I already want, what does she doing? Oh, she doesn't think about that. She just sends an email. She gets up and she goes and does her
Right.
thing. Okay, so that's what I do.
Exactly.
I don't even think about it. I'm like, that's what I do, because that's who I am.
In therapeutic terms, I call it the exercise of acting as if. Acting as if it has already happened. It is already in motion. So how would that person act?
I think acting as if is exactly it. I prefer that to fake it till you make it. I don't like
Oh,
that,
yeah,
because
no.
it just drives me crazy when people do that. And I'm like, no, act as if, like, just because that's actually who you are anyways.
That's
You,
exactly it. It's not fake.
it's not fake. You would
Yeah,
not have I often say this, you would not have the idea if it wasn't for you.
agreed.
You wouldn't have the idea if it wasn't for you. So the idea, people say, well, I want to write the book, but it's really scary. And I'm like, but you wouldn't have the idea if it wasn't for you. Your job, the idea is not the problem. The job is to become the version of you who can do that.
Right.
Right? Success doesn't have to be scary. How can you become the version of you who still holds that success in a way that honors who she is? So for me, my North Pole is always health and relationships.
Well, this has been very enlightening. I got all emotional. It means it touched a chord inside. So thank you so much, Marsha, for coming on and chatting with us.
Oh my God, you're so welcome. It was great to be here. And you guys love the questions. Love the questions. Thanks for being an open subject, Kathleen. That was very helpful, actually.
I am open. When I decide to be, I'm open.
Kathleen
Okay,
owes
love
me
it.
like 3 therapy sessions now when we get done. Thank God she's visiting this week. I'll see you in a
Yay, thank
second.
God, I'm so excited.
That's awesome.
Well, thank you so much, Marsha. And thank you for listening to Sisters in Sobriety. And we will see you next week.